Was a theorist called Shakatuli who once said that like music or sound is the herald of the future, he called it. He said that like basically you can perceive any social change or anything basically that's happening in the world and that people are concerned about, you can see those things happening first through music. Like music will always be the first place where people will come to voice their concerns and um, to bring new ideas about sound and about living in a society. And I think that's the most important, inspiring thing that I've learned. Like, if you study music closely, you will always be ahead of what's coming. Because people love music so dearly, it's always in music that people will put their concerns and their fears and their hopes and their dreams. And if you study that about music, then you will always know what's going on. Because music is just this place people turn to
Right.
to express living. So I'm Hugo, I'm 23 years old. I play guitar and I attempt to play a bunch of other instruments. I create ambient music under the name of Atoomclub, and I really like the social side of music, like the things that music can do in the world, and the political side of music, and
Right.
the way we can perceive the world through music. Maybe I even enjoy that more than making music, so that's why I went in that direction and started in the Arts, Culture and Media program here in Groningen, and then ventured into the musicology side of things. Music, I think, is one of the most easily loved art forms. It's not. I think music is more generally loved than, for example, the visual arts. Although people always say they enjoy the visual arts, but music, when you listen to music when you go to the supermarket, you listen to music on the go, and when you're doing the dishes, and
True.
you dance to music, and you visit a
Right.
concert, and you love a song.
Right.
So music is always something that's very accessible to everyone, and there's not a lot of people, at least not that I know, but I don't think there's a lot of people in general that don't feel anything, and mostly don't feel anything positive regarding music.
Right. It's a very essential part of the human experience in a way.
I think so, and
Yeah.
I think that's why music is so worth studying. Not only making music, which is another thing, of course, that I love doing, but I think the study of music is so important for the study of society as a whole.
Right. I think that's really cool, like to see music as like an anthropological like medium as well. How long have you been into music? Like since a kid or?
Yeah, I started taking guitar lessons when I was 7, I think. I started playing on this one, the acoustic guitar.
Okay.
Then you get Spanish guitar lessons and you learn music theory. But I think, of course, even before that I was into music, otherwise I would never have taken guitar lessons in the first place.
Right. True.
So I think one of my first musical memories, I'll be like 5 or 6 years old and playbacking to a song on the radio, pretending that I'm playing guitar, not even knowing whether to hold it this way or this way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a big part of my life for a long time. I think, especially at that age, when you're starting to learn how to play guitar, it's a very good thing to approach it theoretically and to learn music theory, because it also stimulates the way that you think about organizing sounds, and I think that's a very important thing. And then I took Spanish guitar lessons for quite a long time. And when I stopped doing that, I started taking electrical guitar lessons, which I found way less enjoyable, because then you had to like learn to exactly reproduce a solo that someone else has played, or you had to learn
like note by
the
note.
riff, note by note. And the moment that I started to realize, like, this is maybe not what I want to do for the rest of my life, you know, play someone else's solo, and if they make a mistake, I play that mistake as well. It felt wrong to do so. And then I quit those lessons, and I started to learn how to improvise over songs, like play along with the backing track of a song and not play the exact solo, but find your own solo within that.
Right.
And then the process of deterioration started in, and I started kind of to unlearn how to play the guitar and really find my own voice through that instrument, and seeing it less as an instrument that you use for chords and solos and think less like that, but really as this instrument that I know how to handle because of those guitar lessons, and especially Spanish guitar lessons, and that I can use now for anything that I want to achieve musically, because it's such an inspiring instrument to work with. If you stop seeing it as like the cultural symbol that a guitar is in our Western society. Terry Hess was from a Dutch band called The X, who like don't really play guitar according to any rules, and I find it just so inspiring that you can pick up a screwdriver and just, you know, you're not meant to play guitar with a screwdriver, but you get a sound out of it, and if that's a sound that works, then why not use it?
Right.
And that's really one thing that led me to go down that path, and I usually just carry some tools in my suitcase when going to a show, and I just pick out a screwdriver or just whatever. It could be a shallow bow or whatever. And I pick those out and I start experimenting with that. And if you have like this framework of a song, especially talking when playing with a band, and you have this section where you can do whatever just because the bass is good, then that's, I think, a way more productive and way more interesting way of approaching guitar playing or approaching sound.
Right. And this is also kind of, I guess, supplemented by the fact that you use a shit ton of effects on your guitar, and like with pedals and everything. Actually, maybe it would be interesting to like talk about like the technical side of that. Like maybe like show us like the main pedals that you use.
You want to do it right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. We're back.
He has his pedals here, so yeah, like maybe give us a rundown of all the things that you're using in your set.
Yeah, in my set I'm not using this one. This is a fuzz pedal, which is like one of the basic guitar effects. It's broken. I need to get another one. I haven't gotten another one yet.
Okay.
It's a lovely pedal, but I don't use it. This one is a wah pedal. It's the first one I ever got, actually. And it's like the thing that you know from like Jimi Hendrix songs.
Right.
It's like a filter effect that here it sounds like you're playing in a bathroom, and if you put it like this, it sounds like I'm like playing straight into your ear with like the sharpest sound possible.
Okay, nice.
And you can fluctuate between those. And
okay.
This one basically always is on, because I really use it as a pedal to control my tone during a set. So if I'm starting a set, it usually is a bit like this, so it's like this really muddy, bathroomy kind of sound, and then if I need to have something to break through that, you just put it a little bit to the front, and then there's this sharper tone which floats through that.
Right, okay.
Well, there's a basic tuner pedal, of course, because you need to tune your guitar.
Okay.
This is a Electro Harmonics Attack Decay, which is a tape reverse simulator. So what you basically do with this pedal is that you control the attack of a tone, which is the moment it comes on, like there's no attack.
It's just
like,
instant.
It's instant.
Yeah.
If you have a fade in, then there's a very long attack until you reach that point. And you also control the decay of it, which is basically
like how like long the end is.
How long it's it takes to die out.
Right.
And you control that with that, so you can like have a very short decay but a very long attack, and it's very nice for reverse effects, but also to get like a sound that's not really a guitar-like sound anymore.
Right.
Just because you miss the attack of a guitar.
Exactly,
if you attack a guitar, then it's like
it's just instantaneous.
But you control that with that. Reverb, which is my go-to effect for everything. I just can't live without reverb. It's the most important thing. Basically, the same goes for this delay pedal, which is a lovely Ibanez echo shifter with a lot of options for delay, and those are the main things of my sound, basically. And then there is this enormous, monstrous thing here, which is a Gem Man by Digitech, and it's a loop station sampler kind of thing, and a drum computer and everything included, which I use to loop sounds. And then I started cutting tape loops, which are about 5-second loops, just because I found it fun to work with loops. And I was like, well, let's make a loop physically. So then you get 21.9 centimeters of tape, and you cut that off, and then you stick them back together, and then you go through a horrible process of putting it back in the box. But it's so nice to have like a physical tape loop that takes up space and that has just one sound that it can play instead of, you can of course re-record it, but I really like that it's a physical,
like tangible
loop.
Right. Yeah. That's
which
really
is
cool.
so nice, because the loop shouldn't be tangible, because something shouldn't be able to repeat itself.
True.
And then a loop just does that.
How do you look for your tapes? Like, cause you mentioned, I mean, I guess we had that one tape that you used for our set.
Yeah.
Of like the little boy speaking.
Yeah.
So like take us through that maybe.
That one wasn't from a tape. That was a digital sample that I took from a Greyhound bus documentary.
Okay.
I have no idea how I ended up there. That was just a YouTube rabbit hole that I was clicking through, and then I heard that sample, and I was like, I have to save this.
Right.
But looking for cassettes, I usually go to thrift stores where people dump their cassettes because no one wants cassettes anymore.
Right.
I have a lot of cassettes, so I don't really need to buy them. But I usually buy cassettes like with music already on them when you buy them. So like albums, or not cassettes to record for yourselves. And I just, when it's interesting, I have tapes with like people speaking French to learn French, but also with folk music from the Andes or Indonesia or whatever. Just when I'm like, well, that may be something of interest, and I just buy it.
Nice.
And listen to it and maybe cut it up one day.
So it's pretty much like crate digging.
Yeah, it's crate digging. Yeah,
Yeah,
basically crate digging, what a DJ does, but then I don't do it to find hit songs to play in the set, but I do it to find 3 to 5 second bits of weird music that I like and that I can loop. Yeah.
So Hugo, how are you feeling about your set? Excited?
It's gonna be good.
Yeah?
I think. I hope.
And the location, you like it?
Even better than the set.
Yeah?
Yes. We're good. See you in 40 minutes.
like kind of not fun because see, you don't get to drive a car yet, and what I like about life is there's skateboarding in it, rock and roll. Well, the music I like was Suicidal Tendencies, Poison, Kiss, and Europe. That's about it. North Dakota is a pretty cool place. It's not like in California where there's a bunch of drug dealers and everything like that. Here I like because it's nice and quiet, not that many people here, and there's not a bunch of loadies going up and down Main. I don't like loads because they're a bunch of heavy metal geeks and they keep on smoking pot, and skateboarders and loadies don't mix.
Alright, so today we started with that. We were shooting Hugo Heinen, AKA Atoomclub.
Yes.
You were gonna say it. I thought you were gonna say it.
Ah, no. I was gonna check if you still knew after a day of shooting.
No, I know. Yeah, Atoomclub. How did you get the name actually, Atoomclub?
There was a company here in the Netherlands, which was like a startup, and they had a building near the station of Zwolle, and it just said Atoomclub, and I thought it was the name of that building, so I copied it. Then I found out that it was an actual company,
Yeah.
and then I kept the name.
It's a really nice name though.
Yeah, I'm really happy they came up with it.
Yeah, you just stole it and say, but then
Yeah,
no one has to know what
but they got a new name later on, so I didn't use it really when they were using
Yeah.
it, so I'm not stealing their brand or anything, but
Yeah.
I kept their name, kind of as a tribute, I guess.
Alright, so Hugo, today is your first time shooting outdoors, I'm assuming, or have you shot something like this before? Or like in general, have you played outdoors?
Well, I played outdoors in a few bands that I was part of, and I mean, you get to play outdoor stages, of course, but like shooting like this in nature,
Yeah.
never done that before.
How is it actually? Because like you also asked us, because we approached you a few months ago or a few weeks ago, I don't know how long ago. It was a decent amount of time before, and then I asked you like, hey, this is our concept. We shoot everybody in the bedroom. It'd be super nice as well. But then you were like, oh, I've actually done shots in the bedroom before. I would like to do it something a bit different. How is the whole entire experience different from like shooting indoors compared to like now, which is outdoors in the open in nature with water around?
I think why I asked you to maybe come up with a different concept for this shoot was because the thing in the bedroom, I've done that twice or three times, and you know the drill, and you know how it's going to go, and you're gonna tear up your place, you're gonna set a camera, you're gonna play a set, and then you put it all back together. That's basically what you do, which is nice, but if you've done it a couple of times, then you're looking for a new experience, and since we were all setting up a set somewhere else, I was like, why don't we do it in a place that's maybe even more fitting to the music, because the music I play, the ambient music, is of course very suitable for like isolation in your bedroom, but it also is very dynamic music, very atmospheric music, so I thought, why not take like the broad space outside as a starting point for bringing that music there.
Was it weird though? I'm not weird, but was it exciting though to play outside like this, especially because like before you play with bands, so you're also like a part of a team playing with somebody else or for somebody else, you know. But this time it's really just you and your own self, you know, with all the gear you always use, with your own headspace, you know. There's no audience, nobody. It was just you and then the surrounding area as well. Plus you also had the headphones on, so it was really just focused on your own music, you know. Was it a exciting experience, or like just like how was it actually, the whole entire thing? Because I'm assuming when you play at home it's also very comfortable, but playing outdoors like this is you're like more connected into your surroundings, I feel like.
Yeah, the thing with this music is that not only I can kind of zone out, but the audience can, of course, but also I can do that.
Yeah.
And usually you're in a dark space where you're performing, or you're sitting at home in a very familiar space, and you kind of know how the environment is going to react to your music in a way. So, not literally, but you know what input from the environment you will get when it's either a dark space or your own room. And I think for this one, it really allowed me to get a kind of new sense of my environment where I'm playing in, because you're very conscious of the fact that you're playing outside in nature. So you don't want to do anything that's maybe too disturbing or too weird, and you're on this wooden square in the middle of the water, so you're in a very confined area but you reach out of that area into like the largest space I've ever played in, so to say. And well, water carries a lot of sound, so you're really playing with the entire environment around you. When you're playing outdoors in nature, I experienced, and that's something completely new, especially with there being no audience, of course. Then you kind of have to play for, you know, the plants and the water and the wood and some birds that are flying by and some boats in the background. And it kind of helps you, I think, to level more with your environment when your environment is not responding and you're kind of responsible for, you know, bringing the sound to that environment where it's not expected.
That's a really interesting take on it, actually. Like first of all, like what you said about confined spaces, but you're in the biggest space you've ever been, you know, because obviously the sitting platform you can actually be in is really tiny.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you're in this, there's like no boundaries around you, because obviously in a room you have like more places to like move around, but the room is confined to a specific like spatial location, you know, and here it's really endless, you know, because you're out in nature.
Yeah, and usually in a space where you play, there are certain expectations for you to play. For example, when I play a show indoors, it's always dark and there's people standing or sitting or even lying down. But they have certain expectations for what's going to happen, and right now there were no expectations. There was just cameras, me, my gear, and the world outside.
Yeah, because it's also interesting too, because you also said that you played for the surrounding nature in terms of what is the animals, the trees, the water, the logs, the boats, you know, but obviously there's no conscious audience there, you know. Even for us who are sitting in the back, we can't hear you, you know, so I feel like whenever in that situation, for myself at least, I really tend to play for myself, you know. You also cut the set shorter than you were expecting it to be, you know, because of overheating problems as well.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of improv in the set, or did you go with what you had in planned?
Usually my sets are like 30% planned, 70% improv, which means that I know which basic melodies to play and in which order the samples are gonna come. But I have to stretch those out for 10 minutes, and every space reacts differently to the sounds of the guitar and the sounds how you play them, and if you hit one note wrongly and it's in a loop, then you can get it out. Or you can, but I usually don't get it out, because that's the part that's really fun, is working around your little mistakes and working with everything that's happening during the set. So when today I had to cut it a bit short because pedals were overheating and guitar was overheating and the amp and the tape machine and the computer and myself. That didn't really, I think, affect the performance, except for the fact that it was a bit shorter than I'd expected. But it was another way of working around the things that just happen during a live performance. And you never can really plan out what's going to happen. And this was just one of those things that you have to kind of deal with, but also have to embrace in a way. To get where the set needs to be.
Yeah, because it seems like you're quite excited when you have like these challenges that come up to you when you play your set, you know, because oftentimes some people like really like their sets to be really pinpointed to the perfect key, you know, where everything's perfect, you know what to do at the exact moment, you know, at the exact second, you know. And sometimes these people lose control when they fall into problems where they have challenges they didn't expect beforehand, you know. It's really interesting as well to see from your side as well, because I know for me, like, I'm also the type of person to like play as I go. I don't like having a set structure as to what I do, you know. Or then I get a bit too caught on like getting everything perfect, and I'm not really there with my music, you know. But I don't know. I mean, like, it's also like really interesting as well to hear that you also share like kind of the same way of embracing differences and challenges and sets, you know. But at the same time, I'm also wondering as well, because you tend, like, this time you played for yourself, but also you're very aware of the environment around you, you know. It's also like quite bright outside too, you know. Like, obviously you weren't facing the people behind you, you know, so you didn't see the amount of boats that's passing by as well. So it's a very introspective set. Did you base your set also around the environment you were in today?
Not really, I think. I've not been often here very much. So I don't really know the space that well. And I can of course imagine what the space is going to be like, but I, for today, try to compile a set which consists of parts of previous sets and some new material that I've been working on. And that would be reproducible live today. And the part in the piano, with the piano in the middle, is just one of my favorite pieces to play, and I knew that they would work well in this setting. And the part at the beginning, which is more of a standard drone piece, that just develops as it goes, so that always kind of adjusts itself to the situation that I'm in. And then the last part was a new piece, which I'm still working on, still perfecting, and still getting in my fingers really. But it's a nice place to try that out when there's no one there to judge you.
Yeah, exactly.
Except a few cameras and some boats.
Yeah, but in all honesty, it's really just you, you know.
Yeah, the camera doesn't judge.
The camera doesn't judge, the camera just records. But it's interesting though, I mean, like, because it's a really introspective thing whenever you do a live set. Like, I've talked to you about this before. Like, I think a live set is the best representative of like music production when it comes to like any type of like DJ producer or whatever, you know, because you're making the songs at that time, you know. It's kind of like jazz, but jazz, you obviously, it's fun to work with different people, you know. This is really just yourself, you know. And with the amount of effects you can do, you can make sounds that people have never heard of before, you know. So it's really reflective as to like who you are as a person as well. But then again, because you talked about like this environment isn't very common for you, like in the sense like you haven't come here too often, you know. It's also the first time we've actually been in a specific location as well, you know. But like, what was going through your head actually when you were like playing the set? Were you going through like memories of you as a kid, or like places you've seen before that mimic this same scenario, or what was it? Or you just focus on like the music that's being produced?
I tend to let my mind wander a bit, but the thing is, when you're on that stage and you're playing, there's a lot of things you have to do and a lot of knobs to tweak and a lot of buttons to press and a lot of strings to play. So usually time goes like 3 times as fast as it would in real life.
Yeah.
So I like to let myself wander, but on the other hand, that really costs me a lot of time I can enjoy playing. So usually I'm way too busy and then suddenly it's over.
Like, how do you actually approach like building your sets though? Because I mean, we can talk about this later as well. But like, at least like, is it something that's a bit intuitive, or is it something a bit objective? Like, do you think about it? Okay, this is what sounds nice, or do you just spend hours and hours of just digging and then playing what you feel right? It's like, you know,
I usually rarely play in preparing a set. Usually the idea starts building up in my head, and then I walk around with that for a long time, and that's basically how I write all of my music or make all of my music. Is just having ideas in your head which are unrelated and which at a certain point just build towards each other because they've been in your head so long. And then I get out a guitar, I get out a few tapes, I try some things, and then it sounds nothing like it's in my head, but let's go for it. And then I play that through a few times, and then there's music.
Well, being 11, it's kind of fun and kind of not fun because you don't get to drive a car yet, and what I like about life is there's skateboarding in it, rock and roll. Well, the music I like was Suicidal Tendencies.